welcome to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Reminder, we're streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360, Monday to Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. Make sure you find the Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe, and please rate and review the show. I'm your host, Wim Liu. I'm joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong. What's going on, Alex? How you doing?
Hi, I just want to shout out my mom. You know, she's in Hong Kong right now, pulling up the YouTube streams, showing off to the family, and unfortunately I have a black eye. It'll get better soon, Mom.
No, it's looking tough, man. It's like a yellow-green color. What happened to it again?
I got elbowed at our Tuesday pickup run.
That was last week,
You
man.
were there.
That was a whole week ago.
I don't know. Maybe I should take 2 weeks off.
Okay.
Should I?
No, fair enough.
Anyways, what's up?
Yeah, so exciting show we have planned for you today. We have interview with Thad Young. So yesterday, we were able to get the chance to talk to Thad. And if you remember last year when we had the same chance to talk to Thad, because I was preparing for the Thad interview and I searched into Spotify, like, you know, Thad Young, right? And what came up was Thad Young interview of the century.
Oh, right,
which is the tag that you'll be giving to every single one of these. Are you going to be saying interview of the century again?
No, I think someone took the interview of the century tag last year and tried to run with it. So once someone else runs with it, we got to just, you know, find a new slant.
Okay,
So,
fair.
Yeah. But spiritually, they are all interviews of the century.
And I was listening back to that interview, and it was 30 minutes, and it was awesome, and Thad's a great interview and great guest. But I remember part of the reason why we were able to get that much time was because of the fact that we went down and practiced, and you know, Thad just went through his usual routine. Like, this is how you play 16 years in the league effectively, is going the cold tub, the hot tub, every tub, you know?
Every
and
tub.
So,
by the way, can we just dip Otto Porter's toe in that ice tub? You know, Chinese doctor over here, like, can we just dip that toe maybe for like 2 hours and see what happens?
Yeah, I mean,
because he's out for another month. Get well soon, Otto.
Get well soon, Otto.
I love Otto.
Not a doctor.
We both big fans of Wu-Tang and Nas, so, you know, me and Otto from the same generation, kind of.
Okay.
But yes, you were saying Thad Young last time we had to wait for 2 hours,
yes.
and then he actually called us when we came back to the studio.
And it was a really great interview. So, as it always is with Thad, but this time around, we went down, and I think you made sure to pass on a note that, like, look, it's going to take, at least 30 minutes to get from the practice facility back to the Sportsnet.
Yeah, because I don't know if you're taking the scooter. I don't know if you're biking. So, you know, a little buffer for you.
I was taking the 29 Dufferin, and then I took the subway over. What do you mean, man? But anyway.
Just call an Uber.
But you were here on hand, like, ready to talk to Blake Murphy, which, honestly, we really missed out on a chance on you talking to Blake Murphy for the first time in your life.
Yeah, I was going to ask him the same topics. You know, the three-point shooting, half-court offense. You know, I've been thinking a lot about Vision 6-9, so I'm glad you guys touched on everything that I've been thinking about.
Wow.
Yeah. So great job, man. Good job yesterday.
I honestly thought that it was going to be 20 minutes of wrestling talk between you two.
Oh, yeah. By the way, Chris Boucher, huge wrestling fan.
Yeah.
Another takeaway from the live event.
That's right. By the way, so at the live event, he did give us wrestling comps. What did he call me?
I think it was Papa Shango. I think.
What does that mean?
Yeah, just look it up after.
That?
Well, I proposed that you were IRS.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know. I think it was just trying to make an Asian joke.
I think you wanted to be the money.
I was $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, generational wealth, and you were IRS. No, but Chris is really into wrestling. I'd love to do a wrestling pod with Chris.
Okay.
That'd be super cool.
Okay.
But I'm a Sportsnet employee, so I'm here at Raptors Show.
But anyway,
yeah.
So,
by the way, Felix from who attended the event, please, I've texted you 3 times. Please claim your prize.
Oh, okay.
So,
what was the prize?
I can't say on air, but please message me back.
Fair enough. Yeah. But anyway, so luckily I was able to get the interview done.
Yes.
You didn't have to come in and talk wrestling with Blake.
Yeah.
We were about to do usual Blake Murphy Tuesdays.
Yep, and I had some tiramisu in the back with Frank Baraska.
Right. Yeah, Happy trails to Frank. It was great working with you. And then,
welcome back, Jennifer Rolnick.
Welcome back, Jennifer Rolnick. And we were able to get to this Thad Young interview. So without further ado, this is our interview with Thaddeus Young. We're down here at practice with Thad Young. So, Thad, this is the main point that when we hear from the fans right now, people are real panicked. Okay, people are panicked. They see that the losses to the Magic are a level that, with all due respect to the Magic, they played really well, but they expect the Raptors to sort of take care of some of these games. What's the mood right now like for you guys in the locker room? Because right now, a lot of the fans are panicked, and I think they really just want to hear how you guys are doing.
I mean, we're doing fine. Like, our mood is making sure that we come out with a sense of urgency. That's one of the biggest things that we always have to approach every game with, a sense of urgency. And when we don't approach the games with a sense of urgency and try to kind of cruise into it, games like the Magic happen. Hat goes off to the Magic. They played their butts off. They played they played 2 really solid basketball games. They played harder than we did, and they deserve those wins. They outplayed us, and those are the things that we can't let happen. We have to impose our will on the game. I've said this time and time again. Imposing our will early on the game puts us in a way better position at the end of games, and so the point, we don't let the basketball guys take over. When you kind of cruise into games and you're not just getting your own pace with the team, it doesn't help you at all. So we have to find our pace, find our niche, and find what we do, and get to doing what we do best.
Right. Well, to that point, it was reported, last week that you had spoken prominently during a players' meeting after the loss, in Brooklyn. First off, I just wanted to ask, how often do these kind of things happen? And do you think that sometimes when it's reported they had a players' meeting, it gets kind of blown out of proportion, or what's going on there?
I think it gets blown out of proportion for the simple fact of we're always talking.
Right.
If that's the case, then every day is a players' meeting. We're always talking about games. We're always talking about how we can approach games and how we can do things better as a team, what we need to give to the team individually. So, it always gets blown out of proportion, just because we lost a game and then guys are starting to speak out and stuff like that. That it's no different than, any other time. Guys are always speaking out. I'm speaking out in huddles. Fred's talking. Pascal's talking, even, during practice, after practice. So, if you want to call a players meeting, that's every single day.
Okay. Because sometimes it does get, sounds a little dramatic. You know what I mean? We're going to lock Nick and the coaches out, and then we're going to hash this thing out ourselves. I mean, look, listen, you guys are a group that, you have these young vets on the team, right? And one of the points of emphasis that was reported was that, you guys wanted to come out and throw the first punch, right? And I thought we saw progress of that when you guys beat Orlando the game after that. And you couldn't get it done against Boston, but you guys played really well. There was no let off in the early
Yeah, they made some big
stages.
threes. They made some timely threes.
Yep.
Marcus Smart hit 2 or 3 of them with hands in his face. So
That's tough. That's tough.
those are tough shots, and they're a good team too. That's reason why they're top in the East right now, and they have the record that they do. They're a team that's been put together really well, and they come out and they play together and they gel and they have good solid chemistry.
Right. But I think so. You guys delivered that message, but then sometimes it kind of slips up a little bit, right? Because that first quarter, the first game you guys played Orlando, you guys gave up 37. I just think that for you guys, as the veterans of the team, how do you maintain that the confidence is there for you guys, and especially for the younger guys? Because I think for you guys who have gone through all the battles, guys have won championships on this team, they're not worried about a game in December to that degree. But for some of the younger guys, do you feel like you guys have to step in and sort of maintain their focus and confidence no matter what?
Through positivity, fighting through adversity, because at every point, at any point in the season, you're going to have to fight through some adversity. Showing your resiliency and being able to fight through. We just have to get back to being the resilient team that we were last year. Last year we were a very resilient team. Teams would get up on us by 10 or 15, and that resiliency will kick in, and we'll say, okay, we've hit a little bit of adversity. Let's be resilient and let's continue to fight and see where it takes us at the end of the games. And most of the time, those results to wins. So biggest thing is just getting back to our resiliency and our fighting nature, and becoming road warriors and making sure that we take care of business. I think we do a fairly good job at home, but once we hit the road, we have to get better. So with that being said, just that resiliency.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think you've been on the team less than a year still, right? But you've sort of seen and been around the group obviously a ton. We've always known that Fred's been a guy who speaks out and speaks his mind, and he's sort of been that de facto leader. But for Pascal, do you notice the difference between how he approaches games this year versus how he approaches the team this year?
Yes. He's definitely growing into that leader role. He's doing what he's supposed to do as far as going out there and scoring baskets, playing defense, and showing it and proving it. But his vocal nature is getting better. He's speaking out in huddles, speaking out in team meetings, and he's stopping coach during film sessions and saying, "Hey, we need to do this, this, and this." Those are great signs of an improving leader and a guy who who wants to win and who wants to continue to lead and wants to be the cornerstone of a franchise.
Yeah, and there's no doubt. And I think, the coaches have said that too. And it's good that the teammates are saying this too, because you do notice a difference in his approach, right? Like, I think in the offseason, I don't know how much you were around him, but you saw that he was going to take a leap just based off watching some of the work he was doing in the offseason. And of course, you see it translate this season. What did you notice of him in the summer and sort of his approach to how serious he approached the fact that even though he's already making the max right now, he's still working harder and harder to make sure that he gets to another level?
He approaches his approach to each day is the same way. He starts his work day and he continues his work day throughout the day. He's one of the hardest working players I've been around. Him, guys like Victor Oladipo, they have the same kind of like regimen where they get to the gym super early, they get their work in, and then they're still working after practice.
Right.
Still doing stuff to try to continuously get better. And they're striving, for greatness each and every day, and that's what you want to see in your leaders. Guys who are putting in the work, putting in the time, making sure that they're in the gym and they're doing things, not to be seen, but to continuously get better, to help improve, the chemistry of the team, help improve themselves so the team can win more basketball games. Obviously, we all want to be paid and we want to have, live great, lavish lifestyles and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we're playing basketball and, if you have a craft and you want to perfect your craft, you got to continuously work. And that's what those guys did. And, I was happy to, see that when I first got here, like how much he worked and how much he putting in the time and just noticing like how much his growth has been, in a short period of time.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. I mean, that's the one thing this season for fans, they're not worried about Pascal. They see sort of the way he's sort of playing. I think the two areas of concern for a lot of people are how Fred's doing and how Scotty's doing. We'll start with Fred. Obviously, he's not making shots right now, right? We know he can hit shots at a high level. We've seen it at the highest level in the conference finals, in the finals. Do you have to say anything to him at all, or do you just let him ride?
But let's stop playing with Fred. Like,
okay,
like he knows what he's capable of. He knows what he can do. Everybody in the world knows what he can do. He's proved it time after time again. He was a big piece of a championship team.
Yeah.
If a couple of those games, they don't win a championship if he doesn't come and make big threes and make big shots.
He had 12 points in Game 6 to close that thing out.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So, let's stop playing with him. He's a great teammate. He's a guy that that's always willing to bet on himself, and he's a guy that puts a lot of pride in his craft and what he does, and he loves the game of basketball. He comes in, he works just like Pascal. He works, just as hard, and when you see a guy like that, like I said, you know that, you want to follow those type of guys into battle, and I'm willing to follow those guys each and every day. Me and Fred, we talk a lot, so, like I said, like I know who he is as a person. I know who he is as a player, and I know that, for the most part, like, guys are going to go through these periods in their careers. They're going to go through these times throughout a season, and it can only get better.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's going to happen. Like, he's going to get better, and he's going to continue to try to play. But him being on the court, as a presence is sometimes better than anything that sometimes we have out there on the court. So
right.
Him just taking two guys with him and getting the guy open. Those type of things. So. Like I said, let's stop playing with him, and let's continue to make sure that we're continuously building him up and making sure that we know that he's a integral part of this team.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think with Fred in particular too, it's just that you've seen him do it so much, time after time. You got to trust that it's going to come around.
Yeah, and we
know he's a great shooter. Exactly,
it's expected.
Yeah.
We expect every single one to go in.
Yeah, for sure.
When I see him take a deep three, I'm like, oh, that's going in. So when you see those shots go up and they don't go in, and you're like, okay, he's gonna make the next one.
Yeah.
He's gonna make the next one because like we've seen it time after time again. So, I think it's just a matter of like just continuously going out there and just playing. It's not like his confidence is down. Like he's gonna continue. He's continued to be who he is. He's gonna continue to take those shots with confidence, and sometimes they're gonna go in, sometimes they're not. But at the end of the day, like I will bet my money, on Fred.
Right, no doubt. Now, I think the other thing that people are wondering about is what's going on with Scotty. Now, it's funny because when you look at the stats, Scotty's stats actually look very similar from first year to second year. Maybe the percentages are a little bit down. But are you noticing anything different about his approach, and are you having to say anything to him behind the scenes?
I think with Scotty is just him just continuously, like, trying to piggyback off what he did last year. This year, a lot of teams know who he is now. And I think that's one of the biggest parts. Like, it's a lot of eyes on him.
Yeah, no doubt.
So when you have a lot of eyes on you, you have to figure out how to get some of those eyes, off you onto some other guys, or taking those eyes and then using those eyes against him sometimes. And he hasn't learned that part yet, and he's continuously growing as a player. He's learning. He's coming into the gym, still working every day. And I think injuries kind of played a part into like his slow start to the season. He's getting healthy now, and let's just continuously hope that he continues to get to 100%. And we all know what he can do when he's at 100%.
Yeah.
So just continuously like locking in and making sure that like he know that we need him in order to continue to move forward and to push forward as a group, as a unit. And he's gonna be there for him just like we're gonna be there for him.
I'm curious too, because I was watching that the Orlando game, and they drafted a guy like Franz Wagner, who's a very talented player. He made All Rookie as well. Do you feel like, especially with Scottie winning that Rookie of the Year award, like some of these younger guys are coming at him a little harder now, knowing that he's got the crown right now?
I wouldn't say that. I would just say that guys are just playing basketball.
Okay.
Like, it's a competitive game, and I think everybody's just being competitive. But I wouldn't say guys are just like coming at him. Like, it's not like Scottie can't play any defense.
Right.
He's one of the better defenders in the league. So for him, I think it's just more so like I said, him getting healthy, and then him just just making sure that he's playing smart basketball as opposed to young basketball.
Right. Now for yourself personally, because I feel like everyone asks you about all the players, like you're a coach or something. But obviously, like, you're a big part of the team. And for yourself personally, start of the year, I don't think you were getting minutes, which was a little bit of a surprise to everybody, to be honest, because obviously we know the quality that you have and the experience that you have. But then you go from, like, not playing a lot to, like, starting in a lot of these games and playing a really big role, especially when Pascal went down. How do you maintain that ability to still be successful no matter what role comes at you? Because a lot of players need time to adjust, which is normal. But for you, you can just do
I do
what,
too.
You do too. Okay,
good.
Good.
But I think it's just like for the role that I have to play now in my career, it's just all about consistency. Just bringing a consistent mindset of what I need to do or how I need to approach a game or like what's needed throughout the course of that game, because every game is different, right?
Right.
So you play every single team, and every single team is going to be different. One game you might need me to score a little bit. One game you might not need me to score at all.
Yeah.
And just understanding your where you fit in and where you fall in and how it is, like, and I understand it. I understand what my role is going to be each and every night. How I need to kind of fit in, what I need to kind of do in order to help us win, and just kind of like piece everything together. Like, that's all I really want to do out there on the court. I just want to be a guy that can piece everything together, that can get us continuous movement, that can get us some cohesiveness as a group to make sure that we're doing the right thing so we can play the right way, right style and brand of basketball in order to win the basketball game.
Yeah, because I'm really happy you brought that up, because I wanted to ask you about the fact that it seems like no matter who you're playing with, you have instant chemistry with those guys, right? Like, you and Juancho, I don't think you guys have played together previously, unless I'm mistaken. But you guys you guys played together with Spurs? Okay, well, still, like, you guys coming off the bench together, or you guys starting together, but you guys instantly have that chemistry of, like, when you're in that high post, he knows when exactly to flash to the basket. You got those high-low passes.
With the Spurs, we played 3-on-3 or 4-on-4 every single day for like a month.
Right. Okay,
that's how we kind of built chemistry.
Okay.
So just he understands everything. Like me, just kind of like tell him, okay, look, you need to cut. As soon as I catch the ball, just cut. Just do this, do that. So, like, we built that chemistry like before we even got here.
Okay, makes sense.
And when he signed, I was like, okay, that's perfect, because like I know how to play with Juancho.
Right.
I know how to play with OP. Like, guys that I know how to play with it makes it easier. I developed a lot of chemistry with Chris.
Yeah, exactly.
So just getting guys to understand like how I play and how like they should play when I'm out there on the court and how I should play when they're out there on the court is always going to be like we're going to try to make it a beautiful thing to watch from a basketball perspective, because it's simple basketball, just smart reads, smart cuts, easy buckets, and that's the overall job, is to get the easiest bucket as possible so you can expand as little energy.
Yeah. All right. Well, last question, because of the fact that, guys know how to play with you, as you mentioned, right? And, we always ask you about questions about the younger guys, right? You've developed a nickname, which I noticed that your wife actually responded to on Twitter. So I just want to show you the tweet itself, all right? You can read the nickname and your wife's response to that. What did you think of that nickname?
Yeah, I was just saying it's only something my wife's supposed to call me. Yeah, it's only something my wife's supposed to call me. But fans come up with a lot of different nicknames. I think Stacey came up from the Bulls, came up with Thaddeus Johnson. When I was with the Bulls, and because I was just getting all these assists and stuff like that, just creating a lot of offense and stuff. So a lot of people come with a lot of different names. I'm cool. It's all funny games. I laugh at them.
This one's pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie to you, Thad Daddy. All right, Thad, appreciate you. All right, thank you for doing this, and
no problem.
Best of luck with the season.
All right, thank you.
Okay, that was our interview with Thad Young of the Toronto Raptors. Yeah, just genuinely one of the great speakers on the team. Always very open, very willing to sort of offer commentary on not just himself, but also his teammates. And, it's as reporters, he's definitely one of the go-to quotes. So shouts to Raptors PR for making that happen.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, listening to that back, I'm just like, why did I say no doubt so many times?
Like Gwen Stefani, man.
I need it sounded like the Allen Iverson practice ran at some points, man. I was just
No, it's all good, man. I think it's good to hear from Thad and to hear him talk about all the topics that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Fred, Scotty, the team struggling.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cool tidbit too, hearing about Pascal being more vocal behind the scenes, in the film room, speaking up more. Because again, this was a huge topic of conversation coming into last season about post Kyle Lowry, who was going to take the leadership reign. So it was cool. It was cool to hear Thad describe some of that as well.
Yeah, no, it's good to hear him. Obviously, look, if we're going to be realistic about it, the players aren't going to just slander each other.
Sure.
Right. So when we ask them about them, they're obviously going to be positive. But I think for me, it's very clear that, Thad still has a lot of confidence in guys who are struggling, like Fred, like Scotty. And I think for good reason. Like, as much as they're underperforming this year, the reason that we feel like they're underperforming is because of the fact that we've seen them perform at a much higher level. Right. So there's just got to be a way to get them back to there. I mean, again, we've been saying that on the show repeatedly, but I think the confidence is still there from their teammates. And then I think the other thing, too, is just like, even getting a look at behind the scenes of how a guy like Pascal works to get to this level that he's at. Thad Young's been around a lot of great players in his career. He's played, 7 NBA franchises now. And, I think he sees sort of like what it takes to be great, right? And I think that anyone in the Raptors right now watching Pascal and the way he's worked, again, I've said this before, but everyone should be looking to emulate what Pascal's doing. Get together with Pascal in the offseason and work on some of the skills, because I don't think there's another player in like Raptors history who has improved their game as much as Pascal has from when he was first drafted to what he is now.
Man, you could even extend it beyond just Raptors history. I think if you just look at the NBA, like the last 5-10 years, like Pascal's such a unique development story, right? Like you see late first rounders become starters in this league, like contributing players, but we're talking about an all NBA player.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a remarkable path. And of course that doesn't happen without him putting in the work and being in the lab. And that's beyond just seeing like the Rico Hines runs, right? Like there's so many individual workouts, like very focused workouts that take place because you can see him coming back each season and adding different parts to the game, right?
Yeah.
And look at the one part when he did struggle when the pandemic happened. And, everybody knew that he famously like did not pick up a basketball and play like before the bubble. Like you could see the difference, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a routine to it. And yeah, it was good to learn that Juancho used to be on the Spurs too. So I'll be ready for that.
Bad.
I'll be ready for that, who he played for next time.
I don't know. I thought I knew, but I was like, yeah, I don't think you guys played together. He's like, we played together last year.
Yeah.
I was like,
he's like, in fact, we play 3-on-3 for an entire month.
Anyone remembers Juancho on the Spurs, man?
It was him, Juancho, and Pop running the 3-on-3. The 3-man weave.
He was on the Spurs for 5 games.
Okay, but technically he's on the Spurs.
Yeah,
I was at the Score for 6 months. I was at the Score.
Yeah,
it all counts.
That's a great analogy, actually.
It all counts.
On the subject of Pascal though, so we did get some rankings out, which is always free content for everybody.
Oh, this is from the ringer.com?
This is from the ringer.com.
Okay.
And by the way, we got to get Kevin O'Connor back on the show.
I did message him at the start of the season, and he's like, "Yeah, not this year."
Why?
Well, maybe towards the end of the season. I think because they started a second show as well, right?
Sure,
It was
yeah,
like
yeah,
the
the
NBA draft show, I want to say.
Yeah.
And I think he just has a lot of obligations there. So I'll hit him up again.
Okay, all right.
Trying to get you Brian Windhorst as well, because I feel like, even Michael Grange put out a really good article at Sportsnet today about just, the Raptors and where they're at as the trade deadline, approaches in a couple months. And he did report in his story that the Raptors are now calling teams with more urgency than ever before. Yeah. Why are you laughing?
No, it just sounds funny, man.
No, like Bobby's finally using his second phone now. Yeah. I famously asked Bobby to see his phone. This is literally in the summer.
Bobby.
Yeah. Shouts to Bobby. Let's go for karaoke. But yeah, okay, I think KOC. We can get KOC back. Okay, but yes, you mentioned KOC. The rankings.
Yeah. So this is from the Ringer. They put out their top 100 NBA players. A couple of note, obviously, OG Anunoby at 41, Fred VanVleet at 58, Scotty Barnes at 72. So that kind of like rounds out the top 100. And of course, number one ranked Raptors, no surprise here, Pascal Siakam at 15.
14.
At 14, sorry. Some of the players, like he's above right now, at least on this list, is pretty impressive to me. Zion, who we saw firsthand what Zion looks like.
Yeah, I feel like Zion, a top 5 player right Zion's got to be creeping up to the top 10 in my opinion.
Ever since they started doing more point Zion, he literally has been shooting like 70% and just dunking on people. Jimmy Butler at 16, Donovan Mitchell at 17, Dame Lillard at 18, Trae Young at 19, Jaylen Brown at 20. So for Pascal to be at 14, he's ahead of some impressive names. Anything stand out to you for this list?
I think it's pretty fair where Pascal is at. Like, I'm even looking at the players that are ahead of him. So you've got Ja Morant, Devin Booker, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Paul George. And I think if you wanted to really sit down and make an argument for Pascal versus those players, I think you'd have some reasonable arguments of Pascal maybe moving up a few spots if you want to nitpick. But I think Pascal squarely deserves to be in this class.
Is there something Pascal can do to get into the top 10 this season?
I just feel like he's just outperformed the expectations. Like, I'm not sure if there's anything else you can ask of him. I think it's just about keeping that consistency and having just a track record, right? Like, if he plays at this level next year, I think you would expect him, honestly, and I think it might be kind of wild to say, but you would expect him to maybe like be close to the top 10, which he already is.
Yeah, of course. But, we're literally saying, can he jump Ja,
right,
Devin Booker, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Paul George?
I think it's just that if he maintains his level of performance and does that, year in, year out now, then the Raptors squarely have a top 10, top 15 player.
Well, I think the one thing with Pascal, too, is like he can be a little bit better than this defensively.
Okay.
Right? And to be honest, he's expending a lot of energy offensively, right? So I understand, like, lots of star players, save some energy on the defensive end. And by no means is Pascal a bad defender. He's just, like, closer to average than he is, like, closer to elite right now.
Right.
But I don't know. Some of the players on this list, they do play both ways. Like I was watching, the Lakers play the Celtics last night. Jason Tatum, look who he's guarding, LeBron. You know what I mean? So I think there's like another level that he can get to defensively. And then, of course, the rest of it is just like, can the rest of the team win, right? Because I think that's really is going to impact some of that stuff. But listen, when you're thinking about having a top 15 player in the NBA, like, you've done the hard part.
You've done the hard part, but now you got to build the right roster around them. And I think even looking at the you mentioned where the other Raptors are ranked.
Yeah,
I think that's like kind of the bigger indictment of where you want the Raptors to go, right? Because you have a top 10 to 15 player, and then you've got OG in the 40s, you've got Fred at 58, Scotty at 72, and you look at these players, you probably pick Scotty first and then OG second in terms of being able to make a bigger jump,
right,
in the rankings, right? Like, can Scotty be a top 25 to 30 player? Like, if Scotty and OG can both be like a top 25 to 30 type player, then you're on your way. Then you're on your way, right?
Yeah. By the way, Scotty is 72. The range of some of the players that were slightly above him. Devin Vassell at 67.
Yeah.
Okay.
He ran 3-on-3 with the Spurs. Yeah.
He probably was in those 3-on-3s, man. Thad was probably hitting him for high-low feeds. Al Horford
Magic
at 68.
Right. That's how old. Is that how old he is?
Yeah. Honestly.
You know what? Shouts to Al Horford, man.
No shouts to Al Horford, man.
Why?
He broke TJ Ford back in the day.
Right. Okay, I didn't know you were in the country yet.
No, I've disliked Al Horford ever since.
I need to see your
TJ
passport.
Ford is probably my favorite player on that team.
Yeah.
And he chopped him down for no good reason. I'm still mad about Al Horford.
Okay.
I think that was like 15, 16 years ago.
Okay, rescinding the shutout.
Yeah. So anyway, no shout out to Al Horford. CJ McCollum at 69. Keldon Johnson at 70.
Oh, famously in the Kawhi Leonard trade.
Yes. That was the pick that the Raptors gave up, the 29th pick. And then Bojan Bogdanovic.
Nah, man, we got to move Scotty up
you
one
telling
at
me
least.
that Scotty is below Bojan Bogdanovic?
We know you.
A man who was traded for Kelly Olynyk this offseason?
You're a notorious Scotty hater, but
I'm not a Scotty hater. I'm saying
call.
this is too low for Scotty.
No, we're gonna start putting...
It doesn't matter how bad Scotty's playing, man. I want to see him with Bojan Bogdanovic.
No, we're moving Scotty unofficially up to 71. I can't have him below Bojan.
No, come on. Below Bojan is too much for me.
Yeah.
I mean, look, he's struggling. There's no doubt. But I think the thing with this list, too, is like, as I understand it, people are going to continue to move up and down, right? It's going to be a fluid kind of situation. And so I could see Scotty playing into that top 50 level.
Yeah, but
he at minimum, I think he should be at that level. He's got that much skill.
Listen, the more stars, I know I'm gonna sound like Magic Johnson right now, but it's like the more stars that you have, the easier the rest of the slots are gonna like slot in on the roster. Like you look at, I'm looking at this right now: Jason Tatum at number 6 and Jaylen Brown at 20, and they've been
Brown at 20, by the way, feels a low, man. Brown is really good.
Yeah, and they've been obviously.
Would you have Jaylen Brown or Paul George?
Oh man, that's close for me.
Exactly.
I'd probably go with Jaylen Brown right now.
Yeah, well,
yeah. But that's what I'm saying. The 13. Celtics made the finals last season. They're the top team in the East, and it's because they have 2 top 20 players. And then they filled out the rest of the roles really well, right?
Yeah.
Like the Grant Williamses, the Malcolm Brogdons. They've got Robert Williams coming back.
Yeah.
If Scotty can eventually get to that level, which was the expectation coming into this season, and I think we should still have those expectations for him when he does figure out of this like sophomore slump that he's in.
Yeah, sure.
Once you have that second player next to Pascal, a lot of these roster construction conversations are going to be a lot easier.
Yeah. By the way, just I don't know. I think I mentioned it on Blake Murphy Tuesday. But Grant Williams is leading the league in true shooting percentage. Did you know that?
Oh wow. Okay.
71.7.
Wow.
True shooting percentage. I think.
What's he shooting from 3?
He is shooting 46%, 46.5%.
That's pretty wild.
And it's not like he's attempting like a small amount of threes. He takes a lot of threes.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about, why his true shooting was so high, because I know he shoots a lot of threes, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. And to put that into context, DeAndre Jordan had obviously lots of years of
lots
high
of
true shooting percentages.
And lots of friends in the league to get lots of contracts.
Well, that too. But also part of it was he had a high true shooting percentage because all he did was dunk the ball.
Right.
Even as his peak, the 1 year where DeAndre Jordan made the All-Star game and played 81 games, 67%. So this guy, DeAndre Jordan dunking the ball is less efficient than Grant Williams shooting any shot. Right now. Man. That's unbelievable.
What a year for the Celtics.
Yeah.
Can't even hate on the Celtics, man.
No, it's tough, man. You see the comeback last night?
Yeah, it's a likable group, too.
They were tough, man. That's what I'm saying, bro. I feel like Brown was a little low on this list.
Well, yeah. Anyways, just need Scotty to improve, then, is the conclusion.
We need Scotty to improve. We need Fred to improve. I think Fred was probably historically closer to the 40s as well. So, I mean, that was obviously at his peak. But regardless, I think that, it's good to see Pascal get that recognition, first and foremost. And I think it's just
well-deserved.
Well-deserved, and hopefully he continues to work, and the rest of the team sort of matches his level. So anyway, we're going to take a break. I'm your host, Will Lou. That's Alex Wong. You're listening to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Welcome back to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. I'm your host, Wim Liu. I'll continue to be joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong. And Alex, we are joined by a special guest.
Yeah, we've got Mike Prada from The Athletic joining us. He's also the author of the new book, Spaced Out, How the NBA's Three-Point Revolution Changed Everything You Thought You Knew About Basketball. Mike, how are you, man?
Good. Great to be talking to you guys, and especially great to be talking to a Triumph teammate in Alex Wong.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We're both on the Triumph Books roster. And Mike, I did get a copy of your book. I've been busy working on my next one, but I'm going to sit down hopefully during the holidays and be able to be able to get through your book.
I'm sorry, I'm busy working on my next one. I love that flex.
It's a great excuse for when anyone hits me up about anything. It's like, yo, you want to grab lunch? No, I'm sorry, man. I'm working on my book.
I got to steal that one.
Yeah, no, you have to. But Mike, wanted to ask you, since you wrote this book and we've been talking so much about the Raptors and their struggles in the half court and their struggles from three-point shooting, you know, as a big picture question, like, can the Raptors build a contender with this roster with so little shooting?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're seeing the limitations of this. I mean, last year it felt like their style of play was so innovative and so different that I think it caught a lot of people off guard. You know, this whole idea of let's pound the offensive glass. They play heavy isolation. Let's, jam the basket, get all these offensive rebounds, pin you in. And we just have a bunch of 6'8" guys. So, it doesn't matter the cross matches. I think that took them a long way. And this year is showing maybe some of the limitations of that approach. And I think the biggest picture question that Toronto's got to answer, and I don't know, there's a lot of timeline questions with some of the players they have, but just bigger picture, how do you maintain what makes you different, but give you enough of what you kind of need to be able to keep up? Like kind of this innovation versus, conformity is like kind of a really interesting theme there. So, it does feel like in general that they have, rather than sort of take a step forward and like build on the weird thing they built last year, they've sort of continued to be the weird thing that they built last year, but the rest of the league kind of knows it's coming. That's what it sort of feels like from a bigger picture perspective.
Yeah, no, Mike, I think that's really well said. And I think with the team, they really do have to make that decision, right? Because unsurprisingly, where they're weak is at the positions that they have kind of ignored, right? They don't have a lot of guard depth at all, or at least any that Nick really trusts outside of their starting backcourt of Fred and Gary. And then they don't have a center at all. And I think for me, with this core group, especially if you're going to consider OG, Scotty, Pascal, Fred, honestly, he's played so poor this year. Maybe he's not part of that core group, but I mean, probably he's in that core group as well. If I'm looking at that core group, I can go one of two ways with the fifth starter, right? I'm either going to go for a center or I'm going to go for a shooting guard that can create better advantages than Gary. Which direction would you, from the outside looking in, want the Raptors to sort of to buff up?
I think that they need to get the best player and not worry about whether it's a shooting guard or center, first of all. I mean, what's interesting is that, I have to look at the numbers again, but it feels like one of the larger questions, throw Fred aside because I think his situation is complicated due to his extension and his age and all that. To me, one of the biggest questions is like, can you make Scotty, OG, Pascal work where all three are playing at their best? I feel like there's been a lot of situations over the years, including last year, where like two of them are really good, but not the third.
Yep.
Like, I think last year OG kind of got lost in the shuffle. This year, I think it's been Barnes, and that's kind of the biggest picture question. And what do you need to make that work? And, the rim protection thing is a major problem right now. So I do think that it makes sense to kind of prioritize a center while Koloko develops. I think he's clearly not there yet. But I also think you need spacers more so than anything. You need sort of a little variety. And there are ways to get variety from the center position. Like Jakob Pertl is a popular name that's been mentioned, and I think that would really help them. But what they really need, and these guys are hard to find, is like what Marc Gasol was when they traded for him.
Yep.
Someone who can kind of shoot a little bit, like a Miles Turner type. But if you can't get that, I think you're better. It is helpful to have somebody who can play the two that can handle the ball and make plays off the dribble a little bit. I don't think they're in a position where they should choose. Like I think they should get one and kind of mask the other.
No, that makes sense, honestly. I think the other thing, too, is, for a lot of fans this year, they're not enjoying watching the Raptors playing as much. I think part of it is just because I don't think a lot of people would enjoy watching the 30th ranked half court offense. And Mike, you've always done such a great job of breaking down the film and looking at the plays. And I think there's a lot of like blowback on Nick Nurse because of this as well. So I kind of wanted to ask you a tough question, really, because it's always sort of interconnected. But is it the scheme or is it the talent that's leading to the half court offense being so bad?
I think the thing that kind of connects all of it is this bigger stylistic question, honestly.
Okay.
If you're looking for something that sort of connects it all, this is a team that's isolation heavy. This is not a team that runs a ton of pick and roll. And when they do, I think they run into this problem where people switch them and sort of bait them into isolations. And last year this was a problem,
Mm.
but they kind of masked it with Fred had a great season, Gary was shooting a little bit better, and all that. This year, Fred's obviously had a rough shooting season and is not making as many plays with the ball in his hands. And Scotty Barnes is sort of taking on more of the perimeter role without being ready for it yet.
Mm.
I mean, if you look at the biggest difference in his numbers and his production, a lot more shots on the perimeter, a lot more play on the perimeter, a lot less inside. He's less Boris Dio 2.0, and he's more just kind of a tall point guard. And I think that that's affected him and the team. So I think the bigger question you have to ask yourself as a team is sort of, are we willing to moderate a little bit how we play, and what does that mean? Who do we have to put in a position to succeed? Because I think it is clear that they need a little bit more pick and roll. They need more ability to create to get in rotation and space the floor, and so their whole offense cannot just be let's basically battering ram you as far underneath the basket as possible with our spacing and with our guys on the ball. Like they need a little variety.
Uh-huh.
And if Fred is not going to play as well as he has last year, and if Gary is going to be struggling the way he is, and if Scotty just isn't ready to kind of connect those dots yet, which I don't think anyone should have expected he was, it's tough. Maybe it's a lot more of Pascal and inverted pick and rolls, but I think part of it too is where you position the other guys. Like you got
Mm.
so many guys that are on the baseline with the way they play. Like you do maybe have to risk, kind of lifting more of those guys up to the top of the key, and having less of an offensive rebounding emphasis, especially considering they're already dropping in offensive rebounding. So I think it's a tough question to answer, but I think it all kind of comes back to what type of team do you want to be and how do you keep the good things that make you different while adding some of the elements that whether it's scheme or players, I think it's probably a combination that make you a little bit more of a moderate from this extreme style that the league is starting to figure out.
Right. And that's the concern for me too, is just like, are they starting to figure this out? And also, is the league trying to like adapt to it, right? Because when I was watching the Magic and the Raptors losing twice to the Magic over the weekend, one of the big takeaways was just like, I mean, the Raptors really want to be like big and athletic and sort of dominate you with their physicality. The Magic were literally bigger at every single position, and the Raptors had a couple of injuries and all. But it doesn't really matter. Like like the Raptors want to be this like Vision 6'9" thing. The Magic are like, we're going to be Vision 7 foot. And if we draft Victor, like you're never going to see any single shot inside the paint ever again.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, some of that is the opponent. I mean, the Magic are just, the weirdest structural team in the league. But this is, to some degree, this is the cost of innovation, right?
Mm.
This is all the same conversation because if people like what you're doing, they're going to copy you.
Yeah.
And if they're going to copy you, you need to moderate and get better at it. I mean, this is just that so many stories of the league. This, I think, is one reason why, and this is actually a big theme in the book. And I'm kind of curious to see how it plays out with Toronto over time. The innovators are generally not the teams that win. The innovators are the Don Nelsons or the Rockets or
the Phoenix Suns.
The D'Antoni Suns is of course the most obvious example. It's like where you got to be weird. If you're too weird and too different, someone is going to just sort of iterate on your idea and do it better. I do think that when we talk about the league catching up to the Raptors, to me, that's more of what I think I'm seeing. It's just a different way of saying it. It's more of a compliment to say that, right? Like, oh, that you guys were ahead of the curve. Now the curve is catching up is kind of the other side of the league is figuring you out coin. So I do think there is a lot of that going on for sure. But I also think, look, Pascal was hurt a lot. Scotty, I think a lot, probably too much was expected of him. I do think I don't know what you guys think, but like I do think the Achua loss has actually been kind of underrated.
Yeah, no doubt. It was really good last year.
especially when they were playing well, he really surged. There's still time to, I think, fix some of this stuff.
Yeah, awesome. Well, listen, Mike, I wish I could have joined in on this conversation, but I was busy working on my book during the last 10 minutes. No, but appreciate your
Alex
time.
doesn't like talking ball.
No, I love hoops. But I appreciate your time. Everybody should check out Mike Prada's new book, Spaced Out: How the NBA's Three-Point Revolution Changed Everything You Thought You Knew About Basketball. Mike, appreciate your insight as always, and hope we can catch up soon, man.
Yeah, thank you. And obviously check out Cover Story as well. And this soon to be book. And for Raptors fans, by the way, with the Spaced Out, chapter 12 really gets into a lot of what the Raptors have been doing innovation wise that I think people will really enjoy, or maybe copy, or maybe don't enjoy it too much so that the rest of the league figures it out.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. We'll talk soon.
Thank you for having me.
That was Mike Prada of The Athletic. Yeah, look at you guys flexing on your books.
No, I think, yeah. We have
writing a book is a wild thing to do, because sometimes I'm writing 10 things and it's like 10 things from the Orlando Magic, and I'm just like, oh man, I got to write 10. And meanwhile, you got to write like 10,000 things in your books.
Yeah. When I'm not hanging out with my best friend, my dad, during the holidays, that's what I'm going to be working on.
Yeah, what have you?
We got a reservation
been up to, by the way.
We got a reservation at the Keg on Saturday because he specifically wanted to check out the Keg.
Which keg you're going to?
I'm not going to reveal the location. Yeah.
What do you mean?
I don't want Will Lou stands to pull up and be like, "Where's Will? Where's my Yao Ming jersey that I didn't win at the live event?" Crowd is a little thirsty. Felix, please hit me up. You're the only person who hasn't responded. But yeah, no, I think it's always cool to hear from just outsiders' perspectives.
Yeah, for sure.
Like and like you're right. Like I think Mike looks at the game very like critically and is able to offer the perspectives. And it's not even a criticism to him to say that he's not saying anything that you guys haven't like talked about, right? Or we haven't talked about. I think we're well aware of what the Raptors' problems are right now.
Well, one of the other things too is just like to the point of like not necessarily enjoying the Raptors as much this season. I mean, again, I'm sure some people are still really enjoying.
But like I asked you,
competing basketball.
Name 3 games that you've enjoyed from the Raptors. From you always say from a consumer.
The Atlanta game. Remember when Scotty was pulling up for 3? He had like 5 threes.
Even then, before the game, Nick was like, "I'd like to see Scotty in the low post more."
And Scotty's like, "Bang! Here's 5 threes." You know, it was pretty sick. The 2 Cleveland wins, but I mean, the bigger story like to me is just like, where are the fun Raptors storylines? Where's the joy in this season? Last year, we got to push All-Star for Pascal and Fred. We got to push Rookie of the Year for Scotty. We got to push All-NBA for Pascal. We got to push Ramen for Utah. We got to make Svi jokes. We got to – what else did we do last year?
No, it's fun. And overall, it was just the Raptors.
We got to talk to Gary and Gary's dad.
It was the Raptors returning to Toronto.
It was the return to Toronto. Then it was the empty arena report. Right. Like, there were just so many different – like, there was a fire in the building.
Yeah. Like I've said, the only time
Precious
the Raptors –
breakout.
Yes, Precious breakout.
Turning the season around. What are the happy storylines this season?
Only history the Raptors have made this season have been at history. Nick Nurse Foundation event, a.k.a. Neo Concert. Masai Ujiri, Giants of Africa event. It was great. And our live event. Yeah, that's the 3-peat this year.
I mean, the energy on our live event was the roof.
Anyways, to be continued on the Banter Pod recording after this. And now it's time for Between the Lines, brought to you by Bet Rivers. It's a whole new game. The Toronto Raptors are hosting the Sacramento Kings tonight. The line for tonight's game at Bet Rivers is Raptors minus 4.5. Will, how you feel about the Raptors being 4.5-point favorites at home, coming off back-to-back losses at Amway?
So I was watching a little bit of Sacramento yesterday. They got blown out by the Sixers. The Sixers are playing well, right? So that's not a surprise necessarily. But you do wonder if they're going to come back with a firmer response. I think Fox has given the Raptors trouble in the past. But then again, the last time I remember the Raptors playing host to De'Aaron Fox, Fox after the game was like, "Whew, man, that bench over there. Malachi Flynn,
right? He's like, they all know their roles.
See Mihailuk, Kem Birch, like, whew.
We need to see that tonight, man.
It's so hard right now to bet on the Raptors because you just don't know which team will show up. Is it going to be the team that only makes like 5 threes, or is it going to be the team that plays hard defensively from start to finish, wins the possession battle? I think that's something the Raptors need to do in this game, is to make sure they win the possession battle, crash the glass, get extra chances. Because look, realistically, without OG, one of your 3 shooters, like, you really are down a lot of outside shooting. And so I don't know, it pains me to say this. I think I might go Sacramento's way on this one. It's just hard to predict them. That's the thing. I would actually just stay away until I see some kind of consistency from the Raptors. But if I had to, I'd probably go Sacramento.
You know what? I'm going to show some confidence in the Raptors.
Okay, you know what? To be fair, the Raptors are great at home.
The Toronto Raptors are 10-3 at home.
Okay.
I think at some point, we talk so much about words versus actions. We've heard the words, guys being accountable, Fred being accountable, Thad in your interview, Pascal even saying yesterday at practice that guys are going to stick together and they're going to get through this. And at some point, I feel like the pride's got to kick in too, right? Like, you can give all the credit to the Orlando Magic, but come on, man. Getting swept in Orlando is embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like, for the standards that you have for this team. They were just talking about standards in the players-only meeting. So you come home now, you've hit another low after the back-to-back losses against Orlando. Sacramento's on the second half of a back-to-back. You want to get on track tonight. So I'm going to take the Raptors minus 4.5.
You know what? You might have talked me into it. Maybe I'll flip it as well.
Okay, so our pick officially is Raptors minus 4.5. That was Between the Lines, brought to you by Bet Reverse. It's a whole new game. We'll have Savannah Hamilton join us in studio tomorrow.
Yes, and in the meantime, we are going to record another episode of the Banter Pod. So look for those, for all your bedsheet folding needs or whatever people do to the
shouts to Vic.
Pod. But anyway, we're done for today. I'm your host, Will Lou, and you've been listening to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Thanks again to producer and co-host Alex Wong. Thanks to Mike Prada, our board producer Derek Brandale. Welcome back, Jennifer Rolnick, helping us with the YouTube stream, and we will be back to talk to you tomorrow.
Feels good, man.